This is a 2024 Yamaha YZ450X. We are in South Carolina, riding this thing tomorrow. Gonna get it all muddy. Rained yesterday. It's gonna be a great day. Day one, we got to ride the brand new YZ450FX. This is considered a brand new bike. Although the motocross version came out last year, the FX version came out this year. Basically, the FX is an off-road GNCC style motorcycle. It's really based on the motocross bike. But Yamaha went a step forward. Instead of just putting an 18-inch rear wheel and a kickstand and calling it an off-road bike, they actually did some real R&D work to set this motorcycle up for this style of riding. In addition to the 18-inch rear wheel, the kickstand, they actually created ECU mapping for a mellower, easier to ride bike. They did muffler modification, alter the transmission, lower first gear, lower second gear, higher fifth gear. They also went with the suspension. Not only did they just change valving and springs, they actually lowered the suspension 10 millimeters compared to the YZF model. Now this was kind of because the previous year FX was 10 millimeters shorter, and Yamaha raised the seat height of the motocross bike, and they didn't want to intimidate riders by having too high of a seat height, especially for an off-road bike where you do a lot of foot dabbing and foot plants and whatnot. They didn't want a bike that was too top heavy or tip over for that style of tight riding. Now don't be confused, the FX is an off-road bike. It's got a larger fuel tank as well. But after we rode it for the first day, especially in the tight stuff when it was still wet and muddy, can be a handful, especially on the slick stuff. Luckily, we got a chance to ride the bike on day two when the conditions got a little bit better, and we really had kind of an eye-opening experience because the bike felt so much different from day one to day two. I guess it just got into that comfort zone where at day one we were kind of struggling with it and kind of fighting it because of the deep ruts and the really slick conditions. But on day two, we got a chance to just ride a bike that wasn't even really totally set up for us like day one, but we actually had a lot more comfort in the bike. It actually tracked through the woods easier, easier to ride. The power felt more usable, and it was just a day away from the experience of day one. It just needed more than one day for us to get an impression. Luckily, we got a chance to ride the bike on day two as well, even though we were pretty much set to ride the 125 and 250 all day long. The two-strokes, that is. So it was a good chance to get back on the 450 to experience how the track changes and how the course changed. And my perspective of the motorcycle really did change from the first video I did yesterday on my overall perspective of the motorcycle. I mean, like I said, don't get us wrong, it's a motocross bike. If you're a vet rider, if you dabble in a little bit of off-road and Grand Prix and stuff, I would get the FX over the standard F just because of its versatility. Now, if you're a pure motocrosser, go with the motocross bike. Obviously, if you're a full off-road guy, you want to go with the standard FX. This is considered a closed course motorcycle, not necessarily an off-road bike. It's a closed course race bike, and that's why it probably mimics, or it's very similar to the YZ characteristics, but still built for off-road with off-road suspension and all the little niceties you would need to buy if you were to convert a motocross bike over to an off-road bike. For tight riding, I mean, I don't know if I really need all the power of a 450. Sometimes it's nice to have it there. Sometimes it's a little bit too much, and sometimes you do feel the heaviness of the motorcycle in the tight woods. But again, on day two, some of that went away. Would I choose between a 450 and a 250 for this type of tight woods riding? If I was only doing tight woods, I would have to compare the two motorcycles to see which one would fit me best. We were able to use the Yamaha tuning app, which added some traction control to the bike, mellowed it out even more. And there's also the button on the handlebar, which automatically, when the light's on, it's actually a lighter version of your base map. When it comes to suspension, we didn't do a lot. Basically, we went mess with compression, a couple clickers out, a couple clickers in, mess with that. Mostly, in order to get the bike to settle down a little bit for my weight, I ended up going with slower rebound in the fork. The 450FX is a great option out there for guys that want to do maybe a little bit of motocross, vet riders, for motocross and or off-road, anybody that's doing Grand Prix, GNCC style, hare scrambles, even desert racing. Thanks to Yamaha, thanks to Randy Hawkins for letting us come out to South Carolina, enjoy his property.